Hello, everybody. I'm your host, LucaTheJackal, and welcome back to the Daily Ramble, episode 6, I believe. I thought there were more of these. I'm gonna be honest. I double checked like 2 seconds ago. Like, okay, wait, what episode am I on actually? And it looks like it's 6, right? No, it's on 7. We're on 7. I don't have a very good attention, retention, something, whatever the word is. Either way, I'm here today at a little before 8:30 in the morning because I fucked over my sleep schedule. And that's because I got a brand new job. I uh I quit my job at the theater. I it's not a bit, but like I did say often like, "Oh, I work in a movie theater," and then X and Y. But I quit that job and now I am working at a new place. I won't disclose the name for I don't want people to be doxing my location the instant they get the chance. But the place is fantastic. It's like half museum, half amusement park, where But I'm a ride operator, and what I do is I operate the rides. I'm still in training. I have just finished my first week of the job, and holy hell, I have been having an absolute blast, and I am loving it exponentially more than my entire time at the theater, even though it's been about a week. Um, so obviously, with this sort of video, I'm going to be talking about the experience I had with the theater, and just kind of some general overlooks on jobs as a whole. Not a ton, but it's just a ramble. I like to ramble. I like to talk about random bullshit, and somehow it works out. Thank you guys for enjoying the random ass content I like to make. um, but yeah, it might be a little bit negative at times, and it might be possibly personal, but keep that in mind. It shouldn't be too bad, but I try to have a more positive outlook when it comes to random stuff with the with the channel. Um, and sometimes I get on a negative rampage because that's just what I do. I complain a lot. I'm a complainer. I don't really like that, and I'd like to fix that, but that's one of like 15 trillion things I gotta like work on right now. But either way, I worked at a movie theater for the longest time. I was there for like about a year and 3 quarters, I'd say. I quit early April. I started in like June. I remember my first day. My first day was Space Jam opening. And I think you guys might know what Space Jam is. But the new Space Jam, like A New Legacy, that released the first day I had the job, and I remember the first day I sat down. My dad was the person who was the GM at the time. He's like, "All right, just kind of take the broom and dustbin, start sweeping up popcorn, and we'll try and get you learning some stuff as soon as we can." And I was like, "Okie doke." And I'm like, "All right, here you go. This will be something." And then after like about 2 hours, I could not see the floor because we were swarmed with customers, and it was an extremely busy first day. And then on the second day, I got threatened to be punched in the face because some guy thought I stole $10 from his wallet that he had missing. So it's a miracle I stayed as long as it did. But I mean, I enjoyed it for a majority of the time I was there. I did enjoy working at the theater, and for pretty much the longest time, and still kind of now, I still do kind of hold the stance of like, working in the theater industry is a pretty good way to go about retail, or just those sorts of jobs, right? I keep telling myself the one thing I'm never going to do is work in the food industry because, holy shit, it's the food industry, and I haven't worked there, and anybody who has will probably be like, yeah, you're right on that one. Don't work there. But when I say retail, I just kind of have the general overview, like, hey, they're selling goods and shit, and then you just kind of have a little stand to work at. You sell your specific, product or products, and then you just kind of go about your day. And it's like, okay, like there's the theater that's kind of retail, but kind of not. It's a little different, but it's got the sort of gist I'm looking for with that. And then it's like, okay, you've also got, your grocery stores and your clothing stores. And it's like, I don't know how bad those would be. I feel like on paper they'd probably work out pretty well, but I feel like in actual practice, in terms of just working those sorts of jobs, dealing with the customers and corporate, which is a big thing we'll get into in time. They would probably fuck over a lot as well. So we that's how it'd be. Corporate was a big thing at the theater, but then again, that's something good too. But the theater worked out very nicely for someone like me, because my kind of worry with a retail-esque sort of job is like, okay, am I gonna go to the job, get behind the counter after clocking in, and just sit there for 8 hours until my 9 to 5 ends, and then I go home? Because that's not what I want. I gotta move. I gotta be active. I gotta bug people, right? I like talking to people, and I really gotta like talk to people when I work, because it's like I gotta do something. I gotta have a good energy going, because I'm just gonna go bored and insane, and I'm gonna have the worst possible time imaginable if I'm just sitting around. But at the theater, it wasn't usually like that. Like, if you had like a morning shift on a weekday, um, chances are you would be working alone, excluding your manager. And depending on the manager you get, depends on, okay, am I actually gonna enjoy this shift or not? Depending on, okay, am I buddies with them, and can I like fuck around and find out? But and then, like, if I worked pretty much exclusively evenings, which is what I mean by when I say I fucked my sleep schedule. Because for pretty much the entire time I worked at the theater in the later half, I did closing shifts, which would entail 4 to 5 or 6 if I was really lucky, to 1 o'clock. And usually I'd go home a little bit earlier, and the managers would like finish everything up. But I go in at about the evening. I deal with the evening rush, and then it's kind of tameish for the next few hours. I close up, and then bada bing, bada boom, I'm out at like 12:30 ish, and it's fantastic. Um, but then I did that. I adjusted myself. My pretty much a lot of my. Oops, sorry about that. I adjusted a lot of my life to help around with that later day, because I'm just going to be up anyway. So I basically adjusted my sleep schedule to be up until like 12, 1 o'clock, and then ba-boom, I'm up at like late 7, 8 o'clock. It was fantastic. I was really happy with how it was going. And then I get the new job, and it's like, yeah, it's the place is open from 9 to 5, and it's like, okay, you're fucking kidding me. So I had to readjust that. So I've had to get up early at like 6:45, and I woke up early today at about that time. Um, and I went to bed at like 12:50. So it's like, fuck. I'm ruining myself. That's a problem. But that's how it be. Um, but I mean, as much as I do kind of say that, hey, the theater does have some pretty neat stuff to it. It's still a retail job. Don't be under the impression of, oh, this job's actually fantastic. No, it wasn't, especially later on. Like, again, second day of my job, I got threatened to be punched in the face. And that was kind of a pretty big peak. There weren't a lot of many things that topped that, but there was a lot of still, holy fucking shit. You dumb motherfucker. With the customers. It was great. And then, of course, with any retail-esque job, you're going to be dealing with the worst abomination of all time, which is corporates. And retail-wise, it's like you got your stupid customer. You got customers that will ask the stupid questions that like seem like they should be obvious, and then somehow they're not. It's like, I mean, we will get kind of questions that are like, I mean, for someone who's worked here for, a year, it's not going to happen, because people will be like, oh, is this show, like, sold out? And it's like, we haven't sold out a show since Spider-Man. Alright? We we're gonna be perfectly fine with your 3 p.m. showing of some random ass movie that we've never heard about. And then you get a lot of like the, oh, can I get real butter on the popcorn? And I'm just like, do you want me to put a slab of that shit on there? And it's like, I don't even know if our butter is like quote real or not. And of course, small thing to add on. Yes, theater popcorn is a fucking league on its own compared to regular ass store popcorn. Once you go in and you have it consistently enough, you will never go back. And it kind of stinks, but that's how a lot of those jobs. You surprisingly don't get sick of the popcorn. It's like the one thing you don't really get sick of, and it's a big surprise, really. But I guess it's kind of in the same sense of like you don't really get sick of like crackers, you know. Like that's just a come and go thing, and you just kind of have it when you feel like it. But yeah, just and then people will just and in the theater especially with a retail job you'll expect people to like leave trash behind. With the theater you can probably assume that that's like 15 times worth because it is. You will find certain crowds of people being abominations and making consistent messes. Surprisingly, after a while, the Marvel people actually ended up being pretty good. Okay. So believe it or not, that's the one dub that Marvel has right now is that the people who go see their movies actually do a decent job of cleaning up their shit. The worst, of course, are children movies because they're children. They are going to naturally leave a mess because that is just what they do. And depending on the certain type of movie, you might just have parents that don't give a single shit and are like, yeah, I know my kid left 15 trays behind, but, you know, it's their job to clean it up. And a small tangent on that, I hate that argument of it's their job, so they should just do it. It's also a doctor's job to fix all of your problems. That does not entail that you fucking stab yourself every time, every fucking day. Like, oh yeah, I want to make sure that, you know, the doctor industry, the hospital industry, whatever you call it, medical industry, I want to make sure that they stay in business so I'm getting in a car crash. No, that's not how it works, you stupid idiot. So, what do you mean? So, do us a favor. Next time you go see a movie, whenever that happens to be, even if you do it, pick up your stuff. It takes 2 seconds to pick up your tub of popcorn, your drink, and just walk to the trash can and drop it. Like it's nothing to worry about. All right, no need to stress. Also, best play ever, right there. What else? But yeah, no, just be respectful. We work a lot of shit. We have to deal with a lot of random shit. And I have theater stories for days. I've got some crazy stuff from all around, from cleaning the theaters to actual customers. And maybe we'll get to that someday. If people are interested in that, let me know. I'm more than happy to spiel some random, wow, customer service freaking stinks. And then after retail, you have corporate, which are basically we like money. We like the money. We're gonna make the money, and we're gonna just do shit, and we're not gonna understand a single thing that actually goes on in the area that you people work in, and we're gonna just change policies based on, this sounds nice. Yes, that's just corporate, you know. Management usually kind of stink. I mean, there's like the shift managers, and there's like the GM. The GM I had for the longest time did not do anything, and it was up to basically the shift managers to do everything in the theater, and it was not fun. But then like the higher up corporates, which were like one big family, which is like never a good thing, is when it's one big family who works together. They had their they just did not properly value us. Because like pretty much every single GM would be like, yeah, we'd like to get our workers, paid a little more, and then corporate would just be like, eh, eh. So when I had the opportunity of a new job, which proposed $12 for base pay, when after a year and 3/4 of being at the theater, they were paying me $11.75. I kind of felt a little more valued, so I kind of took that. So basically, how I got the new job, um, there was a shift manager, who's that middle ground manager again, who worked at the theater for a hot while, and then got a new job at the place I'm working at right now. And he's been the kind of guy who's like, it was a slight running bit at the theater of, oh, I want to get a bunch of people over to the new place, and then um, he was nagging another manager, and that shift manager was planning on going over. They did an interview, and it looked like it was working out, and he had pretty much gotten the job confirmed. And then um, I closed one of my I took off a shift because like I want the day off so I can do YouTube stuff. I recorded a couple videos that day, believe it or not, and I took the day off because I wanted the day off just to kind of relax because they kept overworking me personally from how I felt. So I wanted a bit of time off. And then it was about like 11 o'clock, or about like 10:30, and I was like, and one of the managers, the manager that was being hired to the new place, sorry if it's a little confusing, the manager who was being hired to the new place was like, hey, I like really need you in. Both of the openers, there were two openers, not including himself. Both of them called off, and it was like, I really, 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 really need you. And I'm just like, I admittedly ignored him at first because I'm like, I don't give a shit about this job. That is their problem. And I was like, I'm not going to do anything else today. I might as well help out. So I went in, I helped out. And throughout the shift I picked up, I was, throughout the shift I picked up and got pretty much nothing extra for, the old manager who was already working at the new place, was kind of back and forth with the manager I was working with, and was like, hey, I can get Luca for like 12. And I was just thinking about it now a lot, and I was just like, man, maybe I should. It's a little bit longer of a drive, and that's kind of the scare because I don't want to be screwing over my gas a lot more. I don't want to be driving all the way down through town to get to my day job. But I was like, all right, I'll hit him up, and I hit him up, and he was like, yeah, it's basically like 12.25. So I was like, God, that's tempting. So I asked a few more questions. And then I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to shoot my shot. I just need to get out of this place because the industry had kind of driven me mad with kind of overworking me, and I wasn't feeling valued. I wasn't feeling valued as much as I felt like I should have been. And I felt like I was going to be a bit more respected and valued. Like, I don't want to sound arrogant. Every time I talk about this, I feel like I'm sounding like some sort of arrogant, asshole. And that's the one thing I really don't want to do, even though I kind of do it a lot. But I felt like I was working a lot more, doing a lot more stuff around than I should have been doing. So I was like, all right, let me just shoot my shot. So I shot my shot. I went in, did the interview. I did pretty good, except I fumbled one part because they were like, so we got like three kind of things here. We got a tier list here that we're gonna have you do. We got safety, service, and show. And it's like, okay, which one is the most important to least important? And I was like, So being the corporate chill Twitch streamer YouTuber I am, I put show on the top. And then I pondered for a moment audibly, and I was like, well, I mean, safety's probably the thing that's gonna happen the least common. Like, it is important, and it feels weird to say it like that, but I am gonna put it at the bottom because that's just kind of like an if it happens thing. And then I realized later when I was talking about it with one of the managers, I was like, yeah, I I kind of fucked up just like I did in the game. That may not have been the right thing to go with. That may not have been the right tier to go for. And then when I went in for my first day, I was like, yeah, I realized that a moment later, pretty shortly later, that like, wait a minute, that's not right. But they were all good with it. I obviously got the job. I think I turned out pretty well with the interview. Um, and then I was like, yeah, my kind of gist is I wanna get my 2 weeks in for my job, just out of a respect thing. I don't think it deserves it. You know, jobs aren't entitled to actually keep you for those 2 weeks. If you need to get out of a place, just get out of there, right? If a place isn't respecting you, just you don't need to have a you don't really need to have 2 weeks. Like, even like, do a 1 week maybe. Don't be like a dick to your coworkers, but like, they don't owe you anything. Or I mean, you don't owe them anything. They definitely owe you a lot. You don't owe them anything. um, but I was like, yeah, I want to put my 2 weeks in, and I kind of want to take a week off just to kind of like collect myself, get my foot on the ground, and just kind of collect myself once again. So I did that. Was bored out of my fucking mind, and that's kind of a recurring problem I have with myself. Is that if I don't have a bunch of shit to do, I am bored, and then I get sad emoji. um, but it just got it. It's also like it's hard for me to just start doing shit. So it's like, all right, I should start doing something, so I don't get bored and depressed. But also, I'm just not interested in doing anything. So I sit there, and it's awful. Um, but I was like, yeah, I just want a week off to collect myself. I did that. And then my first day was a Monday. Last Monday. I mean, and by last Monday, I mean today, which is the 30th of April. Um, just a bit before a week prior, the 24th. The 24th. That is 6 days. That is 30 minus 6. That was my first day. It was kind of awkward. It was kind of awkward because we were doing paperwork and everything. And I had my birth certificate, which I had to drive down to my parents to get because they didn't have that on me. And they were like, yeah, there's no file number on this. I know this is like an actual birth document, birth certificate, whatever. But, nope. Sorry about that. um, but then, where was I? Yeah, and then I had to just have my mom send me a picture of my passport card, which had actual stuff for me to use. So it worked out. But it was a very different first day than my first day at the theater, and I mean that in the best possible fashion. And by that I mean, when I went in for my first day at the new place, I sat down, I did paperwork, they sat down with me and did training with me, trained me on how to do things, or some light training, very light training. They had me watch a couple of instructional videos, and then gave me a tour of the place and told me, hey, here's this thing, here's that thing, here's generally how that works. And I was like, okay. And it's just a lot of getting into the rhythm of everything is what it looks like. So I had an exponentially better first day, and it was like it was like an 8:45. Oh no, it wasn't. My first day, they sent me an email the day before, and were like, hey, you're gonna come in at like 11ish, like 11:30, and then we're gonna sit down, we're gonna do paperwork, then we'll have you just kind of hanging out for the rest of the day, training and learning stuff. So I was like, cool, fantastic. So I had a good lunch, left early, got my stuff, went in, did the things, and it was great. it was very nice. I met about like 50 people in like the span of a few hours. So I remembered nobody's name. I'm remembering a couple people, but it's also just going to be a lot of getting used to. Okay, all of these people. I got to learn all of these people over time. But it's also like it's definitely gonna be a lot of on your own thing. And I'll get more to the actual kind of specifics with the job. But I did that first day. People extremely nice. The higher ups are also extremely nice, and I will also get into that a little bit later. And then I did that first day. I did the second day, which was a full shift. Um, we had a we had a very busy morning. We had like a couple of like schools come in, and they were kind of around throughout the day, and it was nice, and it was surprisingly okay because with the difference between a busy day at the theater and a busy day with rides is like when you have the theater and you're busy, everybody, the bunch of people who come in are here for a show at a specific time, and that time frame is usually within like half an hour. So you have to be rushing people, you have to be getting people through, and the line is constant, and there's no real like pause period for that. Also, skill issue. Um, with the new place, however, what happens is, you know, when you're busy and you're operating the ride, is that the ride is going, and people just have to wait in lines, and then you have that kind of barrier. Like you obviously watch the ride to like, monitor it and be like, okay, is everything actually working out here? And it is usually. But there's still that sort of like kind of breath of calm, fresh air, and it's like, okay, I know it's busy, but I can still kind of like collect myself and take a little breather compared to just dealing with an influx of customers who all want large popcorns. They don't. They just want to go on a ride, and it sounds like they'll be pretty patient about it. And the only kind of cutoff you're gonna get is like, yeah, we're closing the place, but it's like that's like extremely like unlikely to happen at the same time. So it sounds very nice. I've learned a couple things with rides. I've still got to learn everything. I haven't learned everything yet. Um, but it's a lot of getting into the rhythm of it, and that's what I keep telling myself. You got a bunch of buttons. It's intimidating at first, operating a ride, because it's like, oh God, what's the process here? How do things work? Um, am I going to be what's the extra stuff I got to take care of? And then it's like, and then it's like you work the shift, and it's like, okay, so it's just a matter of getting the rhythm of things down, because a lot of it's just like, yeah, here's a series of buttons you push in a row. Here's how you just kind of get them settled in. Here's how you get them out, and then you call it a day. I should work at Disneyland. I should not work at Disneyland. I'm not a Disney shill. Don't worry, I'm not gonna. I don't intend on caving into Disney and just being that little shill right there. I don't want to do that. But it's very cozy. It's very nice. Being able to work something similar to that, and it's working out really well. It's working out really well so far, and I'm very happy with how things have been. And then I did a shift yesterday, which was just a morning shift, and which made me even happier because I'm like, oh my goodness, the schedule isn't just going to be a constant 9ish to 5 every single day. I'm actually going to have like half days, and that's going to be fantastic. Um, it's going to be cozier, kind of shortish hours, or it's going to be less hours than the theater, which is kind of what I was mainly kind of appealed towards. Is like, yeah, it's going to be like 20 to 25 a week for a guy like you, and I was like, that's awesome compared to like the 30 plus I would be getting at the theater. Because I'm financially very comfortable. I am very comfortable financially. Just like regular YouTubers. Um, oh, that was awful. Um, but obviously it's good to have. I want to have money in terms of paying rent and shit. So that's what I'm there for. So I got to double check through finances and be like, okay, how what do I need to be making, kind of on like a weekly basis. Um, and what is the wiggle room in terms of other stuff? Because it's good to have a little extra wiggle room in terms of like paychecks and shit. Um, so I got to figure that out once I get the first few paychecks. Um, but it should work out rather well. It should work out very well, and I'm very excited to see how it's gonna go. But like working less is gonna be nice at the same time because like, hey, I can just kind of do my own thing, and it's gonna be a decently consistent schedule. So I'm not gonna be like, okay, how do I plan my entire week around my job? How do I plan all of the hobby stuff I want to take with my job? How do I mess around with that? So it's very nice, and it's working out very well, and I say that a lot. Um, but in terms of the general stuff, again, people extremely nice. They are some of the nicest people that have been around. They've been super nice. They've been super helpful. They're willing to teach, and then they're willing to do stuff, and then they just kind of naturally let me take control over the rides for learning stuff. And it's like, all right, that's awesome. They're a great group who they will poke fun at each other, but they're also extremely nice at the same time. It's fantastic. And I'm talking with one gal, and it's like, yeah, there's like no drama here. Like nobody like fights with each other, and if there's ever anything, like it's dealt with pretty easily. Like especially with HR, I'm like, oh yeah, there's human resources with the new job. There were not any at the theater. Keep that in mind. um, and it's like, huh, it's really nice to see that there's like not drama. That's always good to see. And it's very funny because that was yesterday. And the day I was I was thinking earlier that day. Earlier Sunday. No, earlier Saturday. Yesterday was Saturday. And I was like, oh yeah, there's like a Discord server for the theater that I shoved at the bottom of my list because I don't want to associate myself with theater at all. I wonder what's been happening recently, if anything's been going on at like the theater or whatever. Um, and then I get pinged later in the evening because there's some big fight happening. I don't know what happened, but there was drama for like an hour and a half straight of people just yelling at each other. Um, I don't know what happened. I don't really care though, and I'm just like, all right, I understand that I'm never going back because I am very satisfied with the new place, even though it's been a week, and I have felt exponentially more comfortable with said job. um, and the other side is management, and management at the new place, holy shit. They do the appalling thing, which is um, helping out the main cast, the main people, the main crew, the whatever. My second day, they apparently have like a meeting, like a light meeting every morning before the shift starts. Like, hey, here's what's gonna happen today. Um, here's stuff to kind of keep an eye out for. There's this group or that group or whatever. It sounds like that's a daily thing. And I think that's a general gist of what's happening. Um, but after on my second day, they did one of those meetings, and then they were like, all right, anybody got anything they wanna say real quick? And then one older guy was like, yeah, so we've been having a lot of problems recently with kids opening the doors, the openings of the doors before they're able to get onto the ride. And we just wanted to kind of establish that. And they're like, yeah, we can. And then the main, like, I don't think GM is quite the word I'm like looking for. But he's like the main man. And he was like, yeah, okay, that is something. I'll bring that up. We've also got like, and he was like, yeah, we got like a big we got like a big event today, which is the busy day I was talking about earlier. Um, where we're gonna have a lot of people in. I will be out and about. If there is a single problem, do not hesitate, but please let us know. Um, and I will deal with it right away. And I was like, I know it is just talk, but that is like already about 5 times better than the GM at the old place, who, when on a busy days, would do the extremely difficult task of crossing his arms at the other end of the theater, watching everything, and then would not do anything else. And then I actually saw him out and about. Oh, I got jump scared by that one too. I forgot about that. Ow. Um, but having that around was just fantastic. Having someone around who was like, "Yeah, I'm actually going to be here. I'm actually going to help out. I'm going to do things. And if there is a problem, I will address it." And I'm just like, oh, that is so good. That is so good. I love you. I love you so much. So having that around was fantastic. Management clearly knows what they're doing and also care. And it's great. The people are nice. The job itself doesn't seem as difficult as it was expecting to be. I was really nervous the first couple days. And then after the second day, I just had like kind of a really bright outlook. And I was really happy and cozy with it. The one weird thing that's going to be a thing for me to fuck about with is they like don't want you on your phone during, the job, which like fair. But it was also really funny because they were also like, yeah, if you need to like keep yourself, it's going to get slower at times. So if you need to like entertain yourself, like you can bring something. And it's like, yeah, you can bring a book, you could bring like your laptop to do schoolwork, you can bring a tablet, which I'm like, that's just another phone. And then they were also like, you can bring a Nintendo Switch. And I was like, what? I can't bring my phone, but I can bring my Nintendo Switch? And I was like, that's hilarious. But they were like, yeah, and then the manager I know was like, yeah, I didn't really kind of vibe with it at first, so I didn't enforce it. But then like a bunch of people were like on their phones as the rides were going, which is like a giant, fantastic no-no. So it was just funny that it's just a funny thing. But I'll just have to mess about and make it work. But I'm hyped. I am so unbelievably hyped for the job, and I think it's gonna work out great. And I'll have to figure out some new stuff with it, just to kind of get the gist of it and make it as good as I can. But I'm excited. It's a non-profit place, which is the big part. They care about the people who are working there. They want you to do well, and I'm just excited. I'm excited and ready and happy for it. But either way, the kind of meaningful quote message I want to kind of get out of this: do what you love. I don't. There's a very weird line of terms of jobs of like, should you like do what you love for money, or should you not? I think it's probably good to kind of fall in the line of do something you kind of like, do like a small thing you kind of like oh, if you like movies, you can kind of do that sort of thing. If you like books, maybe work at a library. In terms of like a hobby, if it's like, oh yeah, I really like making videos, maybe you shouldn't do that maybe you shouldn't work super hard to make that a financial thing, which that's something I need to learn. But if you're financially able to do so, and I hope all of you are able to reach that sort of state, try and work your job, make it as cozy as you can, and just on the side, try and enjoy yourself otherwise. Do what you want to do. You have a life. Your life is your life. And you should enjoy it the way that you want to enjoy it. You should be able to sit down at the end of the day and be like, yeah, I did stuff I wanted to do. I did stuff that made me happy. And that's kind of what I'm here for. I'm here to go, hey, I'm having a fantastic time with life. I'm here because I wanna I wanna have a great time making stupid YouTube videos where I die to a slug. But either way, I want to thank you all once again for hanging out for the Daily Ramble. I like these. I want to do more of them. So, if you want to see the crazy customer retail stories, feel free to let me know. I'm down to do that. But I want to do more talky sort of stuff because those are fun. But yeah, thank you for joining me for this long ass episode, and I will see you guys next time.